A lot of people imagine compounding as a dramatic curve that suddenly shoots upward like a rocket. That picture is exciting, but it hides the most ordinary part of the process. Before the curve becomes impressive, it usually looks like a person placing one small brick on the ground, then another, for a very long time. The powerful part is not only what the money earns, but how long the bricks are allowed to remain in place. When people talk about growing wealth, they often focus on the percentage. They compare returns, search for the best opportunity, and worry about the rate separating them from everyone else. Rates matter, but the obsession can distract from two quieter forces: how consistently you contribute, and how many years the process continues without being interrupted. Imagine two clocks sitting beside two jars. The first jar receives a modest contribution regularly, and is left alone. The second jar receives attention only when the owner feels inspired. Some months it gets a large amount, but other months nothing happens. The owner of the second jar may feel active, but the first jar has something the second cannot copy: continuity. Continuity is powerful, because compounding works on what already exists. Growth is not only applied to the latest contribution, but over time it is applied to earlier growth as well. That is why time is not simply another ingredient, but changes the role of every previous contribution. A dollar placed earlier has more opportunities to participate than a dollar placed much later. This does not mean everyone must begin young, or that starting later is pointless. That conclusion just turns a useful idea into a source of shame. The better lesson is that the clock only moves in one direction. The most valuable remaining time is the time you still have. A person who starts today may wish they had started years ago. But waiting for the perfect plan only creates another future moment with the same regret. A simple mental model is to think of wealth growth as three connected levers: amount, time, and consistency. People often pull hard on the amount lever because it is easy to see. They try to save a huge sum for 1 month, and focus on the rate lever because it feels intelligent. But the time and consistency levers are quieter. They do not create a dramatic story today, yet they can change the entire map over many years. The map matters more than the snapshot. A snapshot asks, how much do I have right now? A map asks, what direction is this system moving? And can I keep following the path? Someone with a modest balance and a stable contribution habit may be on a stronger path. Someone with a larger balance and no repeatable process is just getting lucky. The current number is important, but the direction and durability tell you what happens next. One common mistake is to treat every contribution as a heroic act. If saving requires a monthly battle, the habit depends on motivation. Motivation is a visitor. It arrives with energy and leaves without warning. A repeatable contribution should feel like a quiet conveyor belt, not a rescue mission. The easier the process becomes, the less your future depends on how disciplined you feel. Another mistake is to interrupt the process because the early results look boring. In the beginning, the curve can appear almost flat. You add money, you wait, and you see very little movement. This is the stage where many people decide that the system is not working. But a young tree also looks unimpressive while it is building roots. The visible growth comes later, because the structure beneath has had time to develop. The most useful question is not, how can I make this exciting? It is, how can I make this sustainable? Excitement often encourages frequent changes, while sustainability protects the process. A plan that survives ordinary months is more valuable than a plan that collapses. You can make the idea concrete with a simple staircase. The first step is a contribution amount you can repeat without creating chaos. The second step is a schedule that does not depend on memory. The third step is a review rhythm that is slow enough to prevent reaction. The staircase is not glamorous, but it gives your money a direction. It also helps to separate increasing contributions from chasing returns. A small planned increase is more controllable than trying to force the money to grow. You cannot command markets or outcomes, but you can control your own actions. You influence how much you contribute, how consistently you contribute, and your real life. There is an emotional benefit to this approach. When the focus moves to maintaining a process, progress becomes a route you can follow. You stop asking whether today's result proves that you are smart. You simply ask whether today's action keeps you on the map. Of course, life interrupts plans. An emergency, job change, family responsibility, or unexpected expense may pause contributions. A pause is not the same as destroying the entire system. The danger comes when a temporary interruption becomes a permanent identity, like saying I am someone who cannot do this. A better response is to restart at a smaller level when possible. The path can continue, even if the pace changes. There is one more reason consistency matters. It reduces the number of times you must predict the future. If every contribution depends on deciding whether this month is a good moment, the process becomes a series of forecasts. A regular system accepts that no one can identify every perfect entry point. It shifts attention toward behavior you can repeat and away from a market story you cannot control. That does not remove risk, and it does not make every financial product appropriate. It simply recognizes that a plan built around constant prediction is difficult for an ordinary person to maintain. The quieter plan asks fewer impossible questions. So when you picture compounding, do not only picture the dramatic final curve, picture the long quiet runway before it. Picture the first brick, the automatic transfer, the month when nothing feels different, and the decision to continue anyway. The rate may influence the speed, but time gives the process room to work, and consistency keeps the engine running. The map is built by ordinary actions repeated long enough to become more powerful than they looked at the beginning.